We are 1 month away from March Madness, and Texas basketball is making a statement in the books. Plus, Texas baseball and softball is wrapping up to start their seasons. And we turn to this Sunday for the annual Super Bowl, where the Patriots make their return and the Seahawks look to clutch it up. All this and more on College Press Box. Good evening and welcome to the first episode of College Press Box. I'm your host, Giorgy Ruiz, hosting with Strempel tonight. But before we get started, we want to remind you that College Press Box is brought to you by Cap Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between. Plan your ride to this weekend's game at capmetro.org. Texas basketball faced the Red River rivalry this past weekend, and number 4 Texas women's basketball made history as they hosted College Game Day for the first time ever here in Austin, Texas. Tensions were high as number 10 Oklahoma, coming off of a 3-game win streak, which included a win against number 3 South Carolina, looked to make it 4. Additionally, 2025 number 1 recruit Aaliyah Chavez made her return to Texas after picking the city of Norman as her new home. The fans showed up, and so did the Texas. So let's get into the highlights. In front of a loud Moody Center crowd, the Texas Longhorns put together a complete performance, forcing 21 turnovers and knocking off number 10 Oklahoma 78-70 on Sunday. Texas wasted no time setting the tone, with Justice Carlton scoring the first bucket of the game and helped spark an early 6-0 run as the Longhorns defense swarmed from the opening tip. Texas controlled the tempo throughout the first quarter, closing on a 7-0 run to take a 19-10 lead after the first quarter, with Carlton accounting for 5 of those points. And the defensive pressure only intensified in the second quarter. Texas forced 6 Oklahoma turnovers and ripped off a 12-0 run, turning stops into fast break points and the second chance opportunities. Oklahoma struggled to find any rhythm, finishing the half with more turnovers than made field goals. Freshman Aaliyah Crump led all scorers at the break with 10 points, shooting efficiently as Texas headed into halftime firmly in control 40-24. And coming out of the locker room, the Longhorns stayed aggressive. Texas forced an early offensive foul and executed efficiently down the stretch of the third quarter, going 6 of 8 from the field over the final 4 minutes. Madison Booker took charge during that span, scoring 6 in the period and pushing Texas to 60-47 advantage heading into the fourth. Oklahoma made one final push to start the fourth, scoring the first 4 points, but Kyla Oldacre, as always, answered with a strong move to the basket, stopping the run and re-energizing the crowd. From there, Texas leaned on its defense once again, and Roy Harmon set the tone with another lockdown perimeter defense, drawing another Oklahoma offensive foul and continuing to apply relentless pressure. The Longhorns responded with a decisive 9-0 run, holding the Sooners without a field goal for the first 3.5 minutes of the game to seal the win. Texas' balanced attack led all the way offensively. Carlton and Booker finished with 16 points apiece, with Booker extending her streak to 20 consecutive games in double figures. Harvin added 10 points and 2 steals, moving her just 3 steals shy of a Texas all-time record. Crump posted her third straight double-digit performance, while Jordan Lee contributed 14 points off the bench. And this victory marks Texas' 38th straight win at Moody Center, improved the Longhorns to 21-2 on the season, and added another ranked win to the resume. And up next, Texas returns to the Moody Center to host number 6 LSU on February 25th for a rematch, and it is set to tip off at 8 p.m. What a spectacular night for Texas fans at the Moody Center. And now switching over to Texas men's basketball, Coach Sean Miller has been getting trouble getting rid of the fouling virus, as he said in a presser, but the men took home a win as well in Norman. Now I'm going to send it over to Tyler.
Thanks, Giorgy. I'm here with Kate Amon to talk more about Texas men's basketball. Welcome on to College Press Box. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Tyler, but with men's basketball being halfway through the season, I'm hoping to still be talking about this team this coming March.
One's got to hope. Well, you have done some great work covering Texas men's basketball lately. Let's take a look.
Horse racing and basketball go hand in hand for the Texas men's basketball team, as they were 37-30 going into halftime against SEC opponent, the Georgia Bulldogs. While the football team couldn't pull out a win against the Bulldogs, this basketball team did, closing this game out in a dominant second half game, brought to you by horse racing and by number 3, Dalen Swain, with 26 points and winning this game 87-67.
Run the race doesn't mean, you play hard 15 games. In the second half, you're down at halftime, you're like, not today. No, you have to fight it the whole way through.
And that's exactly what this team did. Early in the half, number 12, Tremon Mark, gets the ball and sinks the three to get this team going. Then right after that three, number 0, Jordan Pope, drains his triple as the Longhorns start pulling away from Georgia. Pope starts with the ball and passes it to number 3, Dalen Swain, for him to lob it up to number 8, Modest Vakatitis, for the nice layup. Number 5, Camden Heidi, won it in on the three-pointer action. He makes it. Georgia then calls the timeout to try to stop this Longhorn momentum, but it doesn't work. Now to lead scorer Dalen Swain. Mark misses the three, but Swain is there to get the rebound. He makes it with the shooting foul being called. Next, Swain gets the ball and dribbling down court and scores in the paint with 2 defenders trying to stop him. But his best points of the game was this wide open dunk, and Georgia takes the loss. Head coach Sean Miller and how horse racing shows that this basketball team season isn't over yet.
And in our case, our schedule of 18 SEC games. Now, when you look at these races halfway through, there's no halfway through winner.
It's Kate Amon with TSTV Sports.
Amazing job with that package. And now I think it's time we dive into the past month of men's basketball. So getting into it, Kate, Texas men's basketball team has had some great wins. They beat ranked Vanderbilt and Alabama, but then also some hard losses against an unranked Auburn. Why don't you give me a rundown of some of their strengths and weaknesses?
To start off with their strengths, this team is good at getting the ball and scoring points. Dalen Swain is their number 1 scorer, with him averaging 21.2 points a game. But especially against this Georgia game, Coach Miller talked about how Jordan Pope is starting to step up to get those points. Chyndall Weaver is stepping up to make those big plays. They can all get the ball and score, and that is evident in these high-scoring games. Winning 92-88 against Alabama, almost taking the win against Mississippi State, losing 101-98. Texas has a strong defensive presence on the court, but what they have is a strong offensive they lack in their ability to not foul. Coach Miller has been asked this all season so far and is starting to get more and more upset the more and more people keep asking him about it. But this with the fouling, Kentucky shot 35 free throws during the recent Auburn game. Texas caused 26 personal fouls.
I mean, wow, we know how upset Coach Miller does get when Porter asks him about fouls, but it's hard not to when the team hasn't fixed the fouling problem. So let's go back to the Georgia game. They entered the second half being down by 7, but they ended up scoring 57 points. What do you think this team did at the end of this game to make this one of their best wins of the season behind Bama and Vanderbilt?
Yes, Tyler, this wasn't looking strong at all during the first half of the game, but coming out of the tunnel before, this second half team looked very different. The most noticeable difference was that Texas sped up the pace of the game with quick rebounds, throwing the ball down court, and making the adjustment in the paint because they couldn't score. They're going to have to score somewhere else, obviously. These adjustments had to be with Georgia defense being so incredibly strong, which shook the Longhorns in the first half. Texas was also able to start shooting from the three-point line, shooting 45%. And then you can't talk about this game without talking about Dalen Swain scoring 26 points and with his 6 rebounds and 5 steals.
Yeah, so looking into the future with this team, Kate, they have 9 SEC games before potentially playing in March, maybe. What do you think are going to be the defining games these coming weeks?
They're going to be playing South Carolina right now. Then they have Ole Miss, Missouri, and LSU. They then go to Athens to take on the Bulldogs again, play number 19 ranked Florida, go to Aggieland to take down the Lone Star Showdown, play number 15th ranked Arkansas, then close out the regular season against Oklahoma at the Moody Center. When looking at these games, it's hard not to say off the bat we need to beat ranked teams like Florida and Arkansas. Why that is the case, I think the most important game that this team needs to beat is Texas A&M. They are currently ranked number 1 in the SEC and have received 27 votes to be ranked in the top 25. The past Lone Star Showdown, Texas lacked making those three-pointers. But what we saw against Georgia is that Texas can now make those, even against one of the best defensive teams in the country. If Texas can beat Ole Miss, Missouri, LSU, South Carolina, OU, and play a strong game against Arkansas, against Florida, and pull out this win against Texas A&M, I bet you can see this team playing in March.
All right. Well, wonderful analysis. Thank you so much for joining us again. Let's send it back to Giorgy at the desk.
Solid work, Kate. When College Press Box returns, we'll take a look into what's coming up on the mound for Texas teams. Stay tuned, you don't want to miss it.
And welcome back to College Press Box. On Saturday, Texas baseball played in their annual alumni game to kick off the season. Our very own Kate Amon and Lily Perez covered the game. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
It is Kate Amon reporting for TSTV Sports live here at Dish Baseball Field. It is a cold January day, and you know what that means. Baseball season for the Texas Longhorns is starting to heat up. But before the season starts, we have the annual Texas Baseball Alumni Game, where any former Texas Longhorns who have made it to the big leagues come back to play the current 2026 baseball team roster. It is a fun-filled day full of fan activities, and it's going to be a great baseball game.
The alumni game tradition started back in 1984, initiated by Longhorn baseball legend Cliff Gutherson as a fundraiser for the team, but also to combine UT's past with the present. But it's now turned into a fan appreciation day where fans are able to meet Bevo, throw the ball around in left field, and meet players from the #1 ranked softball team in the country. But of course, fans from the Austin area come here to get a signed baseball from a true big leaguer, and former UT catcher Rylan Galvin was a big hit. The game itself was a battle of UT pitchers, freshman Brett Crossland only allowing 1 run and striking out 5 alumni. The UT pitcher pitching for the alumni team, Sam Cozart, striking out 5 of his own teammates. Another freshman, Jack McCarron, closed the game out with scoreless innings and 4 strikeouts. The Longhorns were able to beat the alumni 2-1 with Andrew Ernest hit to center field, Dylan Campbell laying out for the ball but missing it and bringing in those 2 runs to win the game. But if this game showed anything, it's that these UT pitchers are going to be a key part of the 2026 baseball season.
Amazing work, Kate and Louie. And now for more analysis on the quickly approaching baseball and softball seasons, let's send it to Giorgy, who's with our next analyst.
Thanks, Tyler. I'm here with Grabiel Silva to talk more about these 2 teams. Welcome to the show, Grabiel. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. I cannot wait to talk about both teams taking the diamond on the 40 acres later this year.
Yo, perfect. Well, let's get right into it. Well, after an amazing season for softball last year, what can fans look forward to this year?
Well, what better way to start off this segment than talking about the defending national champion Texas softball team. They're led by a nucleus of stars throughout the diamond, and even the reserves are full of contributors. Led by superstars Tegan Cavan and Reese Atwood, this softball team has loads of talent at its disposal this season. Along with the affirmation Cavan and Atwood, other big names to look out for are Ashton Maloney, Katie Stewart, and Caden Henry, who are all key contributors in last year's national championship run. Also returning this year is Viviana Martinez, who suffered a torn ACL the fall prior to last season. Now she's back and ready to contribute in the infield for the Longhorns. One of the key questions for the team is the pitching staff. Last year, the Longhorns rode the arm of Tegan Cavan for 207 innings. To put that into perspective, Texas softball pitched around 431 total innings in the 2025 season. Texas added transfer left-handed pitcher Brandley Gonzalez from Texas Tech to help ease the load for Cavan throughout the season. Along with Gonzalez, the Longhorns also have Citlali Gutierrez, Cambria Salmon, and freshman Hannah Wells, who should round out the rotation for the Longhorns this season. Overall, Texas softball shouldn't miss a beat this season, and once they get on a roll, they might be hard to stop. So don't be surprised if it's another magical year in McCombs this year.
You know, and I know Longhorn fans cannot wait to see it. But now switching over to baseball, how are they shaping up for the new year?
Well, last year, baseball had an amazing SEC debut, which, culminated in an SEC regular season trophy, but they did end up falling flat on their face in the Austin Regional against satellite school UTSA. Well, over the offseason, Coach Jim Schlossnagel attacked the transfer portal heavily. After losing guys like Will Gasparino, Tommy Farmer, and Easton Winfield to transfer portal, and losing Max Ballou, Jalen Flores, and Rylan Galvan to the MLB draft, Coach Schloss picked up Seton Hall outfielder Aidan Robbins, Notre Dame catcher Carson Tinney, and Stanford transfer Timo Becerra, as well as more to round out the transfer portal pickups. Coach Schloss is definitely looking to go all in this season with the team he has right now. One question that can somewhat be answered right now is the pitching staff. Texas got their key announcement of 3 of their stud pitchers in Luke Harrison, Max Grubbs, and Ruger Riojas all coming back. Along with them, the Longhorns return SEC Freshman of the Year in Dylan Valantis, who had a sub-2 ERA and 11 saves in the lockdown closer role he had last year. He will potentially move to a starter role this year, but Coach Schloss has been playing his cards kind of close to his vest and just hasn't announced anything yet. The entire pitching staff as a whole is full of studs, so it'll be interesting to see who Coach Schlossnagle trusts as the season goes along. The offense will need to adjust with some of the new transfers, needing to get used to SEC pitching, but don't be surprised if this Longhorn team could score a lot of runs. Overall, it's abundantly clear that this Texas team is putting all of their chips in the middle, looking for a trip to Omaha.
Well, you know what? Baseball really is looking to get that back. But, well, what are your predictions overall for both teams this season?
Yeah, I'll try to keep this segment short and sweet. We know how good both of these teams can be this year. If they perform up to their expectations, there might be a considerable amount of hardware brought back to the 40 acres. For softball, I believe they have what it takes to challenge Oklahoma for the SEC championship, and I think they can make a legit run for back-to-back national championships. Now for baseball, I believe that this coaching staff has learned from what went wrong last season and make adjustments for this season. The pitching staff should be phenomenal. The offense will find its stride. This team shouldn't lose in their own regional this year if they get one. I think this Texas team has the makings of getting all the way to Omaha. Only time will tell if the preseason number 3 ranked team in the country will have the makings of being a national champion this year. Either way, it should be a fun one on the east side of I-35 this year and McCombs Field and Dish Falk Field this spring.
Well, like you said, we will see how these predictions pan out, and we will be on the coverage through it all. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Grabiel, again, and we'll bring it back to you, Tyler.
Thank you, Giorgy and Grabiel. When College Press Box returns, we're going to preview the highly anticipated Super Bowl 60 matchup between the Patriots and the Seahawks. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back to College Press Box. This Sunday marks the 60th Super Bowl, and after some triumphant highs and lows from some of our station members' favorite teams, we have the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots facing off in Santa Clara, California. Let's send it over to Tyler for more.
Thank you again, Giorgy. I am here with Aidan Urbach to see his thoughts on this year's Super Bowl. How are you doing today, Aidan?
I'm doing well, Tyler. Very intrigued to see how my 87-year-old grandfather is going to react to Bad Bunny headlining this year's Super Bowl halftime show.
Should be a fun one. So this year's Super Bowl between the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots rewrites history that was viewed over 11 years ago, which ended in joy for one side and heartbreak for the other. So, Aidan, how much does that moment still matter in this now 2-part fixture that will happen next Sunday?
For sure, Tyler, to a huge degree. For one, Seattle now understands and recognizes the universal concept to run the ball when at the one and not throw it. But more importantly, a lot has happened for those two franchises 11 years ago. For the Patriots, that win boosted a team morale in over a decade that haven't been to the Super Bowl in over a decade, becoming one of the greatest dynasties in NFL history, winning 3 Super Bowls in 5 straight seasons. And for the Seahawks, whom faced large scrutiny for their performance, specifically late in the fourth quarter, really failing to prevail in the playoffs until this season. However, these are 2 different teams with 2 different rosters, so it'll be interesting to see how this matchup will play out. I think the key will be defense.
Yeah, I got to agree there. And speaking of defense, both teams have managed to come up big for their offense in a variety of different ways across the playoffs this season. For instance, in the AFC divisional round against the Texans, New England secondary was able to pick off C.J. Stroud on 4 different occasions, while Seattle's defense was successful in staving off one of the league's most elite offense in the Los Angeles Rams en route to their 3rd round win last weekend. So, Aidan, what do these teams' defenses need to do specifically if they want to have any kind of success against each other?
Well, Tyler, first off, I think it's great that you point out these 2 phenomenal defenses and what they can do across this postseason. I will say both teams need to have that shared identity and understanding in defense, and that they both have defensive-minded head coaches who can really neutralize the offense. As you pointed out, with that being said, I think these 2 teams need to play with that identity. For New England, it's continuing to dismantle the passing attack. Currently, New England's edge rush has not let their opponent to amass more than 220 yards in their previous 3 games. So this phenomenal pass rush has to play the part this Sunday against Seattle, whom exploded for over 300 yards in the air last Sunday against a top-ranked pass rush in the Los Angeles Rams. Look for veteran Patriots cornerback Carlton Davis, who had 2 interceptions against your Houston Texans, who previously won the Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Brady's last Super Bowl. He'll have a monumental role in this one. For the Seahawks, it's playing to your strength, which is stopping the run. Seattle had the 3rd best run defense of any team in the regular season, and they have answered in the playoffs time and time again. As well, such as halting the Los Angeles Rams, who had the highest rated offense among any active team in the league this season. So again, it's playing your strengths. For New England, it's all about the pass defense, and for Seattle, it's all about the run defense.
Yeah, defensive matchups, some true football that we're going to see on Sunday. And now that we've
100%.
covered both of those defenses, let's get into the offenses. Specifically, each team's quarterbacks, Drake May and Sam Darnold, have faced 2 completely different stories. May is playing at an elite level in just his 2nd year in the NFL, and Darnold, a player who has now seemed to revive his career and live up to the expectations that made him such a high-priced pick 8 years ago. However, both of these quarterbacks making their first ever Super Bowl start. So, Aidan, how do these two get it done, and who, in your mind, has a better game?
Well, Tyler, I think it would be accepted to go for Drake May, who's the front runner for this year's MVP due to his regular season prowess. But I'm going to have to go with Sam Darnold here, solely off what he's done in the postseason. Last weekend, Darnold was tremendous and well-deserving of the NFC Championship MVP award against the Los Angeles Rams, where he racked up over 300 yards in the air against a Rams side who was dominant against Chicago. Darnold has done all without coughing up the football. That's right, he has 0 turnovers in 2 blistering performances. However, things cannot be said for Drake May, who has logged in a total of 5 turnovers across 3 games, looking uncomfortable in and out of the pocket, scrambling at times, and just finding no one. The O-line, in my opinion, will be the overriding factor in these 2 quarterbacks performing offensively. While Seattle has looked strong at the line of scrimmage, New England has not, as they have given up 15 sacks across 3 games. And I think that's kind of ironic given that Will Campbell, their prized possession at the O-line, said he was going to fight and die to protect his quarterback. Come draft night, he has surely failed to live up to that high standard so far in the postseason. So again, Darnold has looked more fluid than May, leaving him to have a better game. My apologies to Drake May Instagram accounts all across the social media landscape. However, give me the ginger to have a better game.
All right, thank you so much for that awesome analysis, Aidan. We're going to go back to you at the desk, Giorgy.
Well, thank you, Tyler and Aidan, for that analysis. And when we return to College Press Box, we'll take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports and see what's ahead. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Let's take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports. Preseason number 1 Texas softball's Ruiz Atwood, Caden Henry, Tegan Cavan, and Katie Stewart were all named to the 2026 preseason All-SEC team. In a vote of the SEC head coaches, the 4 players were named to be some of the best players in the conference, and Texas was named the favorite to win the 2026 SEC championship. Texas softball begins their season this Friday, February 6th in San Antonio against number 9 ranked Nebraska in the UTSA Invitational.
Texas track and field Giovanna Meeks continues to rewrite the record books. In her second meet as a Longhorn, she broke the record in weight throw and earned her 2nd straight win in burnt orange, with the 2nd best mark in the NCAA. Her winning throw of 23.65 meters got her first in the comp, and now she owns all 10 of the top throws ever recorded by a Longhorn.
Texas men's golf seniors Christian Mass and Tommy Morrison, along with sophomore Daniel Bennett, have been named to the Ben Hogan Award watch list. The award is presented annually to the nation's best men collegiate golfer based on all collegiate, amateur, and pro events over the previous 12 months. This year's list of semifinalists will be revealed on April 16th, and the winner will be crowned on May 25th.
Now let's take a look at this week in Longhorn sports. On Thursday, Texas women's basketball will rematch against LSU at home at 8 p.m. Texas softball starts its season on Friday at the UTSA Invitational, and on Saturday, Texas will go against Ole Miss at home at 1 p.m. And on Monday, women's basketball will go against Kentucky in their annual Pink Out at 6:30 p.m. at home.
And that's going to conclude this first edition of College Press Box in the new year. Thank you all for tuning in. And as always, please make sure to tune into our other sports shows this week, including College Crossfire Wednesdays airing at 9 p.m. and the 1-0 Sports Show on Fridays at 11 a.m. Also, we invite you to follow our coverage on Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube at the handle TSTV Sports. Thank you to our analysts, everyone in Master Control, our executive producer, Kendo Ungar, and all of our reporters in TSTV Sports. I'm Tyler Strempel, she's Giorgy Ruiz. Thank you for watching, and have a great night.